from PRX.
All right, everybody. It's, interesting. This is the first time this has ever happened that I remember. But, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, forgot I was already I guess I was starting the episode off, or I don't know what I was starting. But I'm here to start keeping you company and taking your mind off of stuff so that you could fall asleep. If you're new, welcome to Sleep With Me. If you're coming back, welcome. If you've been here all along, glad you're here. Welcome to the podcast. It's here to strive, not just to take your mind off stuff so you can fall asleep, but to bring you some sleepy joy and delight across the deep, dark night. This podcast is different. It's your friend, your boyfriend calling in, kind of, but you don't have to answer. No ringtones when I call on the pod phone. I'm just rambles across the deep dark night coming your way. Now, if you're new, give the show a few tries. Coming up in a few minutes, I'll explain how everything works and how to find, if this show doesn't work for you, how to find something that does. So just settle in. This show's meant to ease you into bedtime and then put you to sleep. Tonight will be a restful development, a succession of restful developments. It's kind of like a dream interpretation, TV recap, podcast that could be listened to but doesn't need to. So anyway, I'm glad you're here. If you're new, you only listen to the show when you're having a tough time, you're just going through something right now, or you're not in a position to, we have you. This show is here for you. It's available. But if this podcast changes your life night after night, makes your life better on a regular basis, we really could use your support. Like that's going to be the difference between the show being here for you and everybody else's. If the podcast has changed your life and continues to, if you could please consider supporting one of these sponsors or supporting the show directly, then we can be here for you and for all the other people that listen. Thanks. Sleep With Me podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Helix. And you know where I was last night? So comfortable, and this morning, and I didn't want to get out of bed because I was so cozy, so comfortable. Yeah, of course, I was in my Helix mattress. And the amazing thing about my Helix is it fits my needs, my sleep preferences, how I like to feel in bed. Because I took the quiz over at helixsleep.com/sleep, and I got matched with a mattress. So of all the features I need to sleep cool and comfortable, all the support I need for when I'm sleeping on my side, when I'm sleeping on my stomach, to take good care of my back, and so I get a great night's sleep, and then I'm so comfortable. You know, I'd like to take the day off and spend it in bed, especially on these cool winter nights. Holy moly. But what about you and your mattress? Do you think it's time for an upgrade to a mattress that gets you and what you need? What's going to make you comfortable? I think you deserve that, right? And you could take that Helix quiz. It matches you with the perfect mattress based on your personal preferences and sleep needs. It makes buying a mattress easy, and you do it in the comfort of your own home. And there's free shipping in the U.S. It comes straight to your door. And what an upgrade it's been, because I had to temporarily sleep on a mattress that was not a Helix. And now I look forward to going to bed every night, to getting cozy, pulling those blankets in and snuggling down in my Helix. I'm going to be comfortable all night long. So what about you? How about you take that quiz and you see what discount Helix has to offer right now? Go to helixsleep.com/sleep to see the latest offers for Sleep With Me listeners. That's helixsleep.com/sleep for current offers. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. That's helixsleep.com/sleep. All right, everybody, we're playing this new game here. It's called Jeans, take it away. Thanks, Scooter. You can't even say my name correctly ever, but I'm Jeans, and this is Don't Support the Show. It's a genuine game we're playing. Gene, who's tonight's winners? That's where. Thanks, Scooter, for reminding me. Even Gene says meanders. Scooter, tonight's winner is your typical listener. They listen to 1 or 2 episodes a week for a few months while they go through a tough time, or something's impacting their sleep temporarily. They may come back to the show once a year or every other year or every couple months, but they listen somewhat infrequently. That's how most people listen to the show. Thanks, Gene. And yeah, if you just listen to the show once in a while you're having a tough time, while you need help, while you need comfort in the deep dark night, you are super, but you're not a super listener, and you don't need to support the show. In fact, the sponsors cover that particular kind of listening, and you're welcome here. And the show is here for you. And Gene, anything else? Scooter, we hope we give him a nice... Scooter, you didn't write any lines for me. Thanks, Gene. We're here to bring you sleepy joy, comfort, and delight in the deep, dark night. And we're glad you're here. And we're trying this new fun thing so you know you're welcome here. And that you're not obligated to support the show. Like, for that kind of listening, it's not... Don't worry about it. When I'm trying to get through with those messages, I'm not trying to get through to you. Like... The sponsors and the listeners who support the show got you covered. Thanks. And thanks, everybody. And thanks, Gene. Thank you, Scooter. Good night, everybody. Oh, Mystery Bard. A lot of people help out on our show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mr. Bard. And remember, there's tons of free ways to help the podcast out. If you're one of those listeners who have been saying, hey, don't try to support the show directly. You could follow or subscribe to the show on your podcast app of choice so you get the episodes as they come out. You could comment or like episodes where you could do that. And you could let somebody know about the podcast. Those are all huge ways to help the show, and I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. And what do you say we get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. That could be thoughts on your mind that you're thinking about, thoughts about the past, the present, the future. It could be feelings, anything coming up for you, like emotionally, feelings related to those thoughts or feelings that are just there. Could be physical sensations, changes in time, temperature, routine. You could be going through something, getting over something, in the middle of something. Maybe you're traveling, maybe you have guests, maybe you're anticipating something, or you work a different schedule. Or you're just having a tough time getting the sleep you desire, need, the sleep you want. Whatever it is, I'm glad you're here. I mean, I wish obviously, I wish you didn't need a show like this, right? I mean, while it means a lot to me to make the show, I do hear from people that graduate from listening to the show and move on because they're sleeping well. And I hope I can help you out, whether it's on a regular basis or this show just it helps you out during this tough time you're going through. The only reason I point out this sleep stuff and what's getting in the way of it is so you know you're welcome. Maybe you feel seen, even if it's in an indirect, safe way, and you feel like someone gets it. And it might not be me that gets it. I mean, I may get it, or at least the underlying feelings, because trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep, trouble waking up, trouble getting back to sleep. Yeah, it's, I have experience. But there's also enough people listening around the world that whatever it is that brought you here, whatever it is that's getting in the way, or, you know, whatever it is that brought you here, there's someone else listening right now in this moment who came because of a similar reason, and they're a regular listener. They probably support the show even, and they're thinking of you fondly because they know what it's like where you're at. They really do get it. There's enough people listening, and they're not just doing it. They're doing it because they really understand. And they really feel for you. They are sending you well wishes and hope across the deep, dark night, and hoping this show can help you out or that you can find something that can, because they've been there. And this isn't something I'm making up. This is a real thing that happens every night with this podcast. It's really the only magical part about the podcast, because it involves something way, way bigger than the podcast. And yeah, it may be invisible. It may be hard to believe or imagine, but across the world right now, Sleep With Me listeners are sending each other comfort. And yeah, you may not feel it directly, but maybe one day you're the person sending the comfort, because that's when you really do feel it. It's almost by sending it out as a regular listener and being a part of this thing that you get it back too. But it really feels good to know that there's someone else out there, and maybe they're finally going to find something that's going to help them fall asleep. But also there is some reassurance. And if you're new, you may not get reassurance from this, that there's other people out there that really understand. And the thing is, the reason I make the show is because of that, but also because you deserve a bedtime where you could get the rest you need so your day tomorrow is more manageable and your life's more manageable on a regular basis, that you don't have to have all this rigmarole around bedtime, and that you could just get the rest you need, right? If this podcast becomes a part of it or introduces you something else or sets you off on a path or just helps you get through this tough time, you know, I'm here to help with that, to take your mind off stuff, keep you company and help you so you could fall asleep. I guess it helps you fall asleep. And know you're not alone in this, that there's other people, myself included, but people around the world that are a part of this thing and want the best for you. And yeah, this is an indirect way of doing it, you know, but that we care. And part of the reason we care is because we've been there. But the other thing is, like, there's listeners who are out there. They listen to the show on a regular basis. They're flourishing. And they want you to flourish too. And I do, like, because I know if you're out there in the world flourishing, our world's a better place to be in. You know, we could use you out there for sure. So that's why I make the show. The way it works is I send my voice across the deep, dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, and superfluous tangents. So I go off topic. I get mixed up. I forget what I was talking about. Then I'll talk about something. Then I'll get distracted again. And a lot of filler words. You know, this podcast, one of its many ineffective taglines is fill her up with filler words. And And I love to imagine myself with a wagon full of filler words overflowing. Though usually anything in my presence is overflowing because I just am not good at, I am good at spatial relations, but spatial actual spatial navigation, not navigating in space, navigating objects through space within the earth, within our earthbound atmosphere. I think that's it, like a way of me saying I'm clumsy. Yeah. And a little bit MESSY. In fact, I used to be called, there was a time when teachers would just call you that. They even had a book about it. So usually, I mean, I guess the good thing about filler words is I can just put them back in the wagon. Hopefully, at least in my imagination, they are self-contained. Just like a word, I pick it up, I put it back, and maybe I pat it. I say, don't worry. I got you. I'm just going to put you back in the wagon here till we need you again. And all the filler words are like, why would you fill a wagon up with filler words? First of all, it doesn't have. Couldn't you get one of those wagons with the sides, like the wagon with the fence around it, or one of those new wagons that's kind of like a stroller, like a luxury stroller that's called a wagon with pillows and. You could put, it's got the shade, a cup. We could probably use some cup holders in here. But also, before we mentioned that, I said, what does this say? Is this some sort of memo to me from the filler words? Yeah, it's like a list of requests we're making. First request is, could you choose, please, if you're going to move with us in a wagon, please choose a path that's as flat and why would you take your filler words out on a rocky road? Well, it's just it's just my imagination. Well, could you imagine something incredibly smooth? Well, believe it or not, it's easier for me to move, because I don't know if you heard earlier, I have trouble navigating space, not outer space, not inner space either, just general space. And, a rocky road, believe it or not, with a little bit of an incline, with a lot of bumps, it's pretty easy for me to walk on. Something smooth with a decline or flat, I don't know, I can't guarantee, like the smoother it is for you, I think there's some sort of filler word, it was maybe a filler word paradox. Oh, no, the word paradox was in there. Just objected to my Okay, could you so your second request, so smoother path, okay, check. Cup holders, got that. A different, better wagon. Higher sides, I can't do less filler words. My job's to fill her up with filler words. Okay, I could get a different, pregnant pauses, they're not considered a filler word, so... Maybe I could put the pregnant pause, just so you know, if there's cup holders, they'll be filled with pregnant pauses, because I think that's a nice place for them to be. It's, circular, and I don't know why I assume pregnant pauses would be comfortable there, but I just I think it's safe to say. Oh, you want the cup holders for you? I don't know. This is about, being a filler word's about compromise. I mean, I'm not a filler word, so I'm just... I'm just making a distracting statement. You're right, filler words. Correct. I'm attempting to move on by placating you with, I guess, words that mean nothing. Is that part of our paradox, or is that irony? But I will take these under advisement. Here, you got another one? Okay, just why move around with you at all? I find kinetic motion, believe it or not, you wouldn't believe this, because I find kinetic motion essential, slow kinetic motion is essential to making a sleep podcast. I don't think it's not meant to be understood, but it's like a theme park. If there's some sort of slow kinetic motion, like me moving through space with a wagon full of filler words, even if that's actually not happening, it is happening, and you just got to trust me on this one. I don't want to use the word liminal space, but I just did. It's also as a distraction. You're right. Correct. But I do have to move on, filler words. But here's the good news. We're moving on together. And I mean, even if I won't be singing Moving Right Along from one of the Muppet films, but you could all sing it off mic. I think you probably got enough letters and stuff you could come up with it. Why don't you work on how you could collectively sing Moving Right Along? And together, we'll move on with the intro to the podcast. So that was an accidental, pointless meander, superfluous tangent combo. What a delight. I had not thought, I mean, I know I've had filler words in a wagon before, but we haven't had that extensive a conversation where now I'm aware that my wagon, I mean, I think they brought this up before, but I get what they're saying about the path, but I probably be better off with a wagon. I mean, because, you know, I could get better wheels too. Also, the good news is this is all imaginary. So anyway, what else do you need to know other than that I make this show and it's a very different, that's the most important thing. After that, I'm glad you're here and I hope we can help, is that the show just isn't for everybody. And if it isn't for you, also I'd say is whatever brought you here, give the show a few tries and see how it goes. Because most people, when they get here, are skeptical, doubtful, frustrated, fed up, tired, cranky. And they get here and they're like, what is this show? What is this dude trying to do? And that totally makes sense to me because I would be like that as well. And the thing is that, now I forgot what I saw. Believe it or not, my mind just went blank. I think I lost the wagon, or they hid the wagon on me, even though it doesn't have actual words. Most people don't like the show when they get here. That's normal. But after 2 or 3 tries, what regular listeners find, if it's going to work for them, the second time they're like, there is a lot of filler words in this podcast. Then the third time they forget about that. And then they're like, I was picturing him pulling a wagon around. And then I woke up the next day and I was wondering what would be the best wagon to fill with words. And then I woke up and I slept great. So just give it 2 or 3 tries to see how it goes. If the show doesn't work for you, or you're certain now it doesn't work for you, don't worry. I have a website set up, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. It has other sleep podcasts and sleepy stuff on there, so you could discover something that'll help you out. And, just see how it goes. You got nothing to lose, right? But if you don't like me already, strongly, just go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. Otherwise, give it a few tries. Hopefully we can help you out. I mean, the show is very different. It's a podcast you don't listen to, but you could listen to it. You just kind of barely listen. Like a TV on in the other room or a show streaming under your pillow. Or like an out of focus picture. It's something you could kind of tune in and tune out of if you need to, or you could listen the whole time, or you could barely listen to me at all. And the other thing is that this is a podcast, it's a sleep podcast that I've been making over 12 years. And maybe even, wait a second, is it more than, I don't even know. I guess a lot more than 12 years. Maybe, I don't even know, 15, 12, yeah. Anyway, not important. The point is that, that I don't even, like, I've been making it so long, but the thing is, this podcast, even though it's a sleep podcast, I'm not here to put you to sleep. I'm here to keep you company while you fall asleep, not to put you to sleep. I'm here to be, like there's no pressure to fall asleep with this show, because there's people listening who can't sleep at all, who need a break during the day, or need something mild to listen to, mildly enjoyable, while they work or they do something else. So I'm here throughout the show, whether you're awake or asleep, whether you're listening to me or not. That's the reason the episodes are over an hour. So you don't have to worry about when you got to fall asleep. And I'm going to be here to the very end. because my job is to keep you company and take your mind off stuff so you can fall asleep, to be a distraction and a friendly voice in the deep, dark night, to be your bore friend, your bore bae, your bore sib, your bore bud, your bore bruh, your chairman of the boards, your Borby, your Borman, your best bore friend forever, your Boris Borloff, to just hang out with you, just like a friend in person would, and talk to you about almost nothing. But, yeah, we'll do a little TV recap of a couple of things that may or may not be familiar. And I'll be here for about an hour. The structure shows something I do like to explain, too, just in case you're new, so you know why we structure the show the way we do. But also there's a couple adjustments you can make. But this free version of the show, which is really listener-supported and ad-supported, benefits the maximum amount of people it can, because there's new listeners listening to this. There's people that listen occasionally, people that are going through a tough time, and then people that prefer like a free version of the podcast. It works better for them. And there's over 600 episodes in this version of the show. So the show starts off with a greeting, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, so everybody feels seen and welcomed in. Then there's support, so the paying for the show is optional. And it really is optional for all of those people I just mentioned. It really comes down to people that listen every night, supporting it or not, that allows us to be here. Then after the support, but totally separate from the support, is a show within a show, which is the intro to the podcast. It's on 15 to 20 minutes long, where I try to explain what the podcast is. And I go off topic about filler words or whatever it is. Every intro is different, but it follows a familiar structure. So it has some familiar reassurance, but also has variety, so that whatever it is that keeps me awake at night, it can't take any repetition. It needs some variety, something new, and something that feels like somebody put some effort into crafting for me or making for me, that took some time to help me out. So those are part of the reasons. That's why the intro is new every time. Now, the reason the intro is 15 to 20 minutes long is to ease you into bedtime. The intro is not meant to put you to sleep. If it does, please consider supporting the show directly. But for most people, they're getting in bed, getting comfortable, they're getting ready for bed, or they're doing some sort of chill wind-down activity while they're listening to the intro. So it eases them into bedtime. It's a buffer time. It's the time we all hang out and laugh at my foibles. Or like, laugh at my, how would I even spell foibles? Foibles. It's not foibles, but I was already trying to spell it. And maybe that's the name of my wagon, the Foibles Flyer. None of the filler words are foibles, but they do. My foibles do, enable them to where I got to go back and retrace my steps. What happened to? I got to go find it. No, do you want to come with me and look for? What was he talking about? The intro goes on and on and on. But it's to have a time in between being awake and being asleep, as a part of your wind down routine. Whether you have other things as a part of your wind down routine, or this is it. That's what really does work for me on a regular basis most of the time. And what I've seen studies show work, having wind down time to get eased into bedtime. So that's why the intro goes on and on and on. If you listen a lot and you only like the stories, you could check out the podcast Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me in any podcast app. Or if you support the show on Sleep With Me Plus, you get a story-only podcast. And either one of those just has the stories from the show. But most people, this is like our community time, our hang time. It's kind of nice to have all of us here together, thinking about me and my wagon and full of words. It's a word wagon, filler word wagon, but it didn't have space on that. Foibles filled with foible filler something. Yeah. So not the best time for a tongue twister because we're at the end of the intro here. But that's really it. If you're new, just see how it goes. If you're going through a tough time, I'm here to help. If you can't support the show, don't worry about it. I'm going to ask the people that benefit the most to support it for you and for everybody else. So if your life has been changed by this podcast, if it has enabled you to flourish at all in the world, we do count on you supporting the supporting the podcast, the value the podcast has brought to your life back, so we can be here for you and everybody else. And here's the ways you can do that. Support a sponsor, support the show directly. Thanks. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, ZocDoc. You know that feeling when you walk out of a doctor's office and you think, wow, I feel so much better now. They really listened to me. They really explained to me what was going on. I felt heard. I felt seen. The right doctor can make you feel lighter, clearer, gives you hope everything's going to be all right. And I had that kind of relationship with my doctor in California. I felt like he listened to me. It felt like he took his time with me. But unfortunately, I moved all the way across the country. I'm in a whole new system now. But guess what? You can find those kind of doctors that make you feel good, that really listen on ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with over 150,000 providers across all 50 states. Whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or one of the other 200-plus specialties offered on ZocDoc, you could easily search for specialty or symptom to build the care team that's right for you. View thousands of verified patient reviews to give you a real sense of who your doctor is. Maybe they don't like small talk, or maybe you root for the same sports team. Whatever it is, you can feel confident that you can book with a doctor you know you'll love. And here's the thing I'm finding here of why ZocDoc is so much better, because the doctors on ZocDoc are available. Every time I ask somebody in person here about their primary care physician or their dentist, they say, oh, they're not taking new patients. But with ZocDoc, I don't have to worry about that feeling. I can find a doctor I like, and then I can book an appointment with them. And that's one of the reasons I love ZocDoc, and you should check it out, too. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/sleep to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/sleep. ZocDoc.com/sleep. Thanks, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this message. Everybody, welcome to a succession of Restful developments. This is a TV recap, a dream imagination podcast. And it's two characters kind of run the show, so they'll just be talking about someone's dreams and their week and trying to interpret if it means anything at all for your sleepy, joyous delight. I'm going to turn things over to, I guess, Scoots and Michael, or someone that may or may not be named Michael. Take it away. Hey, can I call you Mike? Okay, I'll take that as an answer. Why don't you sit down? And before we get to anything, I wanted to try to change things up this week. I was thinking, what if we went through your week first? Because holy cow, your week, now that you're filling out a daily journal and sending it to me, and I'm able to follow up with your sibling. I mean, mostly because of your access to your corporate monitoring accounts, but also you're hearing from your siblings and parsing that information. Thanks for all the access you've given me. I hope we can use it to help you out this week. Yeah. I mean, one thing I want to note is that there's a lot. I'm surprised. I guess it's starting to make sense. Your dreams in this only in the sense that your day life is so dreamy. There was so much imagery in your journal, and that I put together. That was dream. That I feel like I may start dreaming you at some point. Okay. So do you want to start with your week and I can just kind of ask about the details? Sure, but now that I know what you're looking for, I could try to give you the details. Yeah, so it started out on Sunday when I like to make cornballs for George Michael and I. And because we have mostly a lifetime supply of cornball mix and a cornballer, which is a kind of like it's a fried cornball. And it is fun to say, and it's, when things are, and you have to monitor the cornball machine. It was something my dad sold back in the 70s. Maybe that was one of the dreamy things you were referring to, that he worked with Richard Simmons briefly, doing an infomercial, or that, you did point this out in our email, that the image of the cornball has a cartoon cornball on the cornball machine and the box. That does look like an animated character named Meatwad, but I think the timing is different. My dad, this was, but yeah, it does look like that. So it is dreamy. And the idea of my dad and Richard Simmons selling cornballers and then selling them also, like being translated into Spanish. But yeah, to be honest, I was looking forward to eating some cornballs with my son, sitting down to a table full of cornballs, maybe even my sibling. I thought having some little things I thought they would change. Cornballs and change do go together. And normally we like to go on a bike ride to Balboa Island every Sunday. It is another thing I like to do, shared activities with George Michael. And so I was excited about it. And then my sister came in, and she was kind of in front of George Michael, setting his boundaries and setting a theme that it did was to talk about. I guess it's always a theme with me. Family's important. But she was saying that I was like telling George Michael what to do. And, this is something deep-seated in every parent, right? I like spending time with George Michael. And she was saying he's ready. And I say, you love cornballs and bike rides, right, bud? And then he said, no, well, I have plans to, he kind of talks like that sleep podcaster bit. And I said, what do you mean you can't go on the bike ride? He said, well, my bike needs a tune up, or maybe, I don't know. And I did take I guess I pulled a parental, because then I started saying stuff about, just take responsibility and speak your mind. Then I bumped the cornballer, which gave me a little cornball buzz. And he said, I'm going to go. And I said, fine. So, and then if I had any silence, then I would have thought, what's going on? But I had Lindsay there, and she wanted to offer her opinion and her advice about my parenting style and her son. And I was in my head, I was also so torn, because I said, we're trying to really cut back. I'm trying to be austere. But if he needs a new bike so we can spend time together, maybe I should fix this, with a new bike. Also, my sister, I noticed it's noted in your notes, so I'll just, your notes are incorrect. She was not dressed like a Parisian, though I could see how that it would be confusing. She had on a hat that was not a beret, but it could have been taken as a beret. Maybe I did a sketch of it. I'm just not very good at sketching. She was dressed, this is Lindsay. Lindsay kind of is stylish, even in these ridiculous outfits. And also, they're usually very expensive. And then she had this clearly expensive dress that she bought with the company credit card. I said, no, you got to return that. Okay, so then I'm already a little bit out of my element. And then Job shows up. he was surprised. He doesn't even know that I have a Sunday tradition with George Michael eating cornballs. So he's like, a cornballer. And then I thought about, when like seeing the tapes of my dad translated with Richard Simmons, not George Simmons. And then I said, what's going on with you, Job? And he's basically said he broke up with his current partner, who was a soap opera star. And somehow you also observed that an image or a picture of him with Marta and her two chilled sons, and Job having this big frown on his face. But Job said, I'm moving in here. And I said, no, we don't have room for you, Job. And then Lindsay said, oh, yeah, no, it's more about his son than him. And she said, he needs space. He's a teen. And then I said, oh, yeah, maybe like you know more about parenting than I do. Then Tobias comes in and wants to make this. So this is like not going well already. Obviously, I'm talking about him. Now, Tobias is Tobias, right? But he takes himself seriously. So he's like, well, I used to be expert in these areas before I became actor. Well, I said, you're not an actor. He said, this is a normal part of life. Then he's kind of talking about how he's distanced from his daughter and that they're not kind of as connected. But then his example didn't play out because he said, where are you going? She goes, to audition for a play. And for high school. So it's not open auditions for actors. And Tobias took that as a call for connection, that she's acting, he's acting. But it's incorrect. She had a crush on this guy, Steve Holt, and wanted to be in the play with him to maybe hold hands with him. Now, the irony was that's what George Michael was doing that same day, though I didn't know about it till later. He was auditioning for the play because of, I guess it is dreamlike. He wants to hold hands with his cousin. And I say, oh, man. But I would only know about any of this because of your narrator effect or whatever you call it. So it was like this thing. They're all going out for this high school play. Meanwhile, I go to get a new bike for him. By the way, when I buy a bike, I got to ride a bike to get a bike because that's I don't have a car. I've got a bike. So it's quite a workout, like picking up my son's new bike and then biking home with the box with the bike in it. Now, Buster was also he lives with my mom. And normally he goes away on these school trips, even though he's an adult, like graduate school trips that my dad would pay for, or the business would pay for. But because he has to spend more time with my mom. And she was not happy about it. Also, he was chasing birds throughout the house. When my mom does aqua size or how do you say aqua? Is it water aerobics? So it's not aqua aerobics, it's water aerobics. When she does her water exercise classes, Buster's still there and he jumps in the pool. He disrupts it. He said that the bird was on his pillow. And so I'm trying to talk to my mom and she's trying to tell me about Buster. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Lindsay was talking to my mom. And then Lindsay's like, oh, well, Michael made cornballs for everybody but Buster. And my mom said, what do you mean? Why isn't Buster hanging out with you guys if you're all together? So then she was having a moment of the inverse of me, saying, well, maybe Buster should spend more time with his siblings. So she gave me a speech about that and cornhole, cornholes, which is a game. I tried to explain that to her. I said, well, cornball and it's like a beanbag you sit in, she said. No, beanbag you throw into a cornhole. Anyway, Mom, what do you need? She said, well, you're having fun with everybody but Buster. I'm sending him over. You're in charge of him now. And I said, well, he's going to have to work. So first we were working. He's like working on the bike while we're, I'm trying to work, which I said, okay, maybe if he puts the bike together. Then I had to deal with Job, right? And he shows up in a bathrobe. And of course, Buster's in a bathing suit or like summer clothes. Job's not happy with his relationship with my mother. Job was shredding whole wheat bread. You think that's one of the things you're like, are you sure you didn't dream that? I said, no, my brother was doing that. He was putting whole wheat bread in my shredder for work, or the company's shredder. And the reason he was in the rub is because he slept in the boardroom. He said, well, I have nowhere to live. And I said, well, you can't sleep in the boardroom. And they said, why? And I said, because I'm telling you, you can't, whatever, go back and forth. So then, there's the whole thing with George Michael and Maybe and Steve Holt and George Michael auditioning, Maybe being like, I'm surprised you're auditioning. She telling him, I'm just here to kiss Steve Holt or hold his hand. I think I don't know if this is after they got the roles, though, because George Michael is Steve Holt's stand-in. So he's not going to be at practice anyway. I guess apparently Tobias somehow talked his way or begged his way into being the director of the high school play. So he shows up. He whispers a surprise because he thinks it's because maybe he wants to spend more time with him. He rolls on stage. This is all very dreamy too, I know. Even the idea of him begging the principal. And then working with Buster was very challenging. He's not aware of, so he's yawning in front of a client, falling asleep, talking about personal stuff in the boardroom, working on the bike in the boardroom. And really, really, really challenging. And then I didn't even realize, should I really be allowing Buster to work on a bike my son's going to ride? Meanwhile, I heard about the play, Tobias is overcomplicating things and maybe leaves the play. Then I show up there or maybe quit, I guess, after I showed up to the play. I heard about it. And I said, get you a new bike. And I said, so why didn't you tell me about this? He goes, oh, well, it's not a big deal. I'm just a stand-in. I guess I left work early so we could hang. He's like, well, got awkward, right? He's like, well, I can't go for a bike ride right now. And then I guess I was a little dismissive. I said, so, well, you're just a stand-in. Let's go for a bike ride, And he had other stuff going on. I wasn't available. I guess in that moment, and he said to me, I can't go on a million bike rides with you, just whenever you want. And I said, is this about something else, like a romantic attraction or something? Or is Lindsay right? And then he left, and I was talking to Tobias about it. And I said, maybe my son's grown out of hanging out with me. Also, another dreamy thing that I did notice after I pretended to leave, but I noticed Tobias, really like the taste of his pencil or pen. And I said, is that like some sort of flavored pen or a scented pen? So then Tobias is recasting the play and recasting it. It became kind of one of those things that kind of kept self-fulfilling, changing roles. George Michael and Steve Holt. And eventually it ended up Steve Holt and Maybe again reversed roles. Then I went to see my dad, and he just said he was talking about himself and playing card games and So he said, well, think about your brother Buster. I wasn't really involved in his life. I was involved in yours, but he's closer with your mother. And I guess I didn't give him everything I needed. I wasn't aware of him. Meanwhile, Buster was with us, but he was reading a book and not paying attention. And Buster's like, I got to go home and take a nap. Lindsay's trying to hide the dress she's supposed to return. Ironically, Tobias ends up finding it and using it as a costume for Steve Holt. Job tries to move in with my mom, singing to her. And at first, they share that they can be critical of people, but other than that, they don't really have anything in common. She's like, you live here for 3 days. Then I said, well, Buster could be my, new friend. So we stretched and got ready for a bike ride. And then Buster, we were kind of giving each other a hard time. Then Buster was doing imitations of my mom. Job was also reading a book when he was living with my mom, and then he moved out. But Buster, even when he's imitating my mom, he's really doesn't know how to communicate well. But yeah, he goes back and forth, whether he wants to be independent of my mom or not. George Michael had quit the play eventually, when it was just him and Steve, because Maybe wasn't there. And then when he quit, Maybe went back to the play. Then my mom realized she was jealous of me. Once she knew that Buster was coming independent, she wanted to win Buster back. So she won Buster back with a candy bar. Also, Buster and I went for a bike ride, and that did not go well. He said he was just trying to fit in, but he was like, I want to sit in the front seat from now on. This also all happened in the boardroom in front of everybody else. And then in the end, George Michael said, Dad, what if we make some cornballs together? We kind of learned, hey, you're going to try to be independent. I'm going to try to be independent. He made little tiny cornballs, and I did not criticize the size of the cornballs. Then I had to, imagine what next week was going to be like, but I guess it's not accurate of Tobias getting reviews of his play and not being happy. And Buster being back with things. So yeah, that's it. From that's what my week was like. I guess we could discuss some more right now, huh? All right, I'm glad we took that little break there. And I do want to get to your dream, but I really considered a series of dreams, and I took some time to kind of break it out. So instead of you running through your dream, I wanted to kind of talk about some of the parts of the dream, because you kind of wrote it almost like a story, which I appreciate. It did help me, and it really, is that okay with you? Yeah, that's fine. All right, so I wanted to start with Greg, not Craig, Greg with a G. And he kind of became, I don't know if he was Cousin Greg before this, or if this is the dream where he became Cousin Greg, or started getting called Cousin Greg. Because you talked about Greg before. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Greg's in the dream, he's a cousin. Yeah. So, but in this, the story you told me about your dream, or the dream you had, Greg, there was a dream with Greg, right? Yeah, I had a dream with cousin Greg. And it was kind of like Greg was on this quest to go get slippers. And then he was on a quest to get papers. Then he was on a quest to not get papers. Or I think before that, to get a sweater. A sweater of Logan's for Roman. Yeah, I don't know if you're explaining it that great. So, well, another thing I forgot to say and I'm not sure if this is me or the dream, like Marcia became Marcia, or people, I could have sworn in my dream but everybody's calling her Marcia now. Well, I do remember the last conversations we had, you were referring to her as Marcia, but that was what you were referring to her as. Okay. Well, she's Marcia now in the dream. Same woman, married to my father. She was in the dream a lot, too. Yeah, and she did seem like a very stable presence in the dream. There was just a lot of parts of the dream that you gave me that were a little bit obvious. I don't know, that you could probably look at it as your own. Like, hey, Marcia, formerly Marcia, maybe maybe her role changed. But she does seem like someone to look up to, and she's not she's a good partner in this dream. And I feel like to herself, but she's the first one that gives Greg a quest. Right, because he's being a PEST, she gives him a quest, and she sends him to go get slippers. But it's more like, and I don't know if you noted this, but there's a theme in my dream of people being sent away because they're not part of the family or not trusted. Yeah, I mean, I did note that. I did notice that, but I thought that was for you to look at too, since we only have a limited amount of time together. So go ahead. Yeah, so Marcia sends Greg to get slippers. Checked, I can't even remember now because it was so confusing, but checked slippers with slippers with a checked pattern on it. It seems like Logan has a lot, in the dream he had a lot of slippers, a variety of slippers. I didn't realize that so he just never had, when you've described him before, I would have never thought slippers. Yeah, I guess that's a part of the dream. Huh, interesting. I don't know if we analyzed that, my partner and I, but yeah, slippers are comfort. In this, reassurance. But this is more about Greg, so go ahead. Yeah, so he gets ready to set out on his quest to get the slippers. Then Roman says, hey, by the way, while you're there, can you get these papers for me? And he doesn't really help Greg at all. He just said, what papers? And I was surprised in the dream Greg found any papers at all. Then, I'm not sure of the order anymore, like you said, but I think then Roman says, also, can you get a sweater of my dad's? Oh, like which sweater? It doesn't matter as long as it's used and smells like my dad. It would be nice for him. And it would, remind me, just anyway, I want to talk about it, kind of a Roman thing. So that's another layer. Then Shiv says, don't bring the papers back, cousin Greg. And, in the dream, there's all these sibling rivalries, which I guess you're saying is pretty obvious. Okay, what happens next to Greg? He takes a cab, but he doesn't have money to pay for the cab, so he asks the doorman to pay for the cab, and the doorman doesn't recognize him. And it becomes a thing. I thought that was very dreamy, right? There's the gatekeeper or whatever, and even his mode of transport, and he's kind of stuck for a while until Mrs. Roy calls, or Marcia. Okay, and then what happens? Then Greg's not very successful at doing anything, so he has to call his mom. But I don't think it's just incompetence, because you're going to some person's house you've never been to before. I can't even believe he's supposed to be looking for stuff. And he's supposed to find slippers and papers and a sweater. He doesn't even know where the laundry would be. And also he has the two different things. Like Shiv says, don't bring the papers. Roman says, bring the papers. So he's not sure who to choose to be loyal to. And also he had given $20 to Shiv earlier. That was his last $20. That's why he couldn't pay for the cab. Okay, and then what happens? He, after calling his mom maybe even more than once and not being able to, he knocks over a bell. I think like some sort of like, I would incorrectly say it was like a Tibetan bell, but I don't know anything about bells. And then he rings it and then knocks it over. And then one of the people that works at the house comes by and he goes, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to summon you," or whatever. It was a mistake. And they go. Then eventually he returns without the papers, but with the sweater and the slippers. I'm not sure if he got the right slippers or not, but it wasn't a real quest anyway. And then he's able to deflect because he has the sweater which Roman asked for. But so he kind of does choose Shiv versus Roman. Okay, so yeah, we worked on this. Now the first one is like it could be like some sort of displacement ritual. This is what I told my assistant to find the most kind of out there ideas. Now this is like a meaningless or conflicting errands. And in this case, to absorb chaos, okay, and Greg's being set up, obviously, or possibly, like in the dream, you know. So he gets sent away, then Roman tries to take authority, then Shiv puts him in a double bind, and this will come up again, the old double bind. Then there's like this essence of Logan with the smell of the sweater. And that's kind of like a conflicting thing, too, I notice, is that I'm having trouble, and maybe you could just process it, saying, was this a heartfelt thing by Roman? Or showing some sort of deeper part of Roman? Or some, like, a true love of his father? Or was something else happening? Also, Greg doesn't get the resources to complete his task. He's not recognized or being seen as a legitimate, like, even a legitimate quester. And then he regresses on his quest, and he says, "I don't know what to do with this, the double bind, or even which slippers might be best to choose from." Now, is this an initiation or just something else? And again, you got to think about how you feel about any of this with you and your family. So then the other thing could be this double bind. Like the Greg's tasks are not compatible, and there's no good action that he can see. Though he does try to make it the best action he can. And I think in the end of the dream, you say, well, maybe in the end he made the most of it. He managed to deflect. He managed to return with 2 quest items, or in a sense, the lack of the third quest item was a successful quest item. He chose, I don't know if that's the right way to say it. I think choosing... Who would I more likely get a return or would remember I did something for them? But again, like how much is this structured like your life? Responsibility, but you don't have the cab money. You're not recognized, but you're supposed to be in a position of authority, but the authority doesn't recognize you. And you're supposed to smell sweaters of a person you don't even really know and find their used sweaters. That seems a bit absurd, you know? Not out of character for this dream Roman you have. Now, again, going along, this could be like a relic quest, a failed relic quest, or maybe not failed. Like these are relics of, Logan-related relics. The papers are related to Logan's wishes. They're his slippers, which again could symbolize anything. I think they do symbolize some sort of authority, though, because not only does he have so many slippers, they sound pretty nice. And I don't know. I guess I'm having trouble wrapping around how deep to go on the slippers. And then there's the essence of Logan, like embodied in the sweater. But there's contradictions there. Who sent you on the quest? Like all of a sudden you and again, I think there's a later thing with Frank saying like something about like that he's not like meant to be up front. He's just like a liege lord or something. But in this sense, Greg doesn't even have a like lord to liege to or a queen to liege to. And he's very unprepared. So it's almost like he's sent on a quest, and impressively, he succeeds. And then I want to talk about the bell, if it is a Tibetan bell, or some sort of symbolic, spiritual-based bell, spiritual-based SBB, spiritual-based bell, spiritually SUB, spiritually used bell, bell used BUS. Bell used in spiritual BUSS, bell used in spiritual situations, because bells bring you your attention and your awareness to them. They're part of awakening or entering, with meditative state or coming out of an illusion, like to bring you out of an illusion you're lost in. But Greg also drops the bell, and he's playing with the bell. So what does that mean to you? I don't know. He doesn't seem like he's having fun. Well, I guess he loses himself with the bell, but then immediately has consequences. And what are those consequences? Well, he drops the bell, then he's embarrassed. And he gets, not only is he embarrassed internally, but externally, right when he had his guard down to play with the bell. Okay, that's pretty good. I like that. But in a sense, his ability to be playful maybe made the quest, I think we could say it's successful. And he definitely made the most of a tough situation without ever saying, you know what I mean? Well, he never said, no, I more mean he didn't ever, in the dream, he didn't really show how he reached his conclusions. But I will say maybe it has to do with your individuation. Are you familiar with that? Yeah, it does keep coming up with us. Okay, so what if it's some sort of simulation, like a status simulation that didn't work out? Like almost like your dream, your subconscious is running a situation about your status in the family or your status in society. And what if it's being reduced because you have no recognition, no money, no authority, nowhere to turn to. You're trying to get help from a parental figure, and that's not working even. And you don't know what to do in the dream. Could that be some part of you rehearsing to try to figure out how to move forward? Like some sort of, is there anything in you that feels like you could be existentially irrelevant? What do you mean? Well, you always present in our discussions as someone competent. You want to be, you're the head of the family, whether you like it or not. You try to be responsible as possible. Like, what would happen if you were in Greg's shoes, or do you feel like you're in Greg's shoes? Like you're at the whims of, like all you can do is make the best at the whims of others. Yeah, okay. What about the next part? Okay, this one, my assistant is artificially intelligent, so they like to do one about if everything's in a simulation. So what if this is a cognitive process, but it's a decision model that's not working for some reason? Like the input is, Greg, do this for the family, but then there's some sort of contradictory constraint. And that means like the data training the model is not offering stability or authority. So there's like going to be some regression or looping or hesitation. It's an over-constrained system. It can't choose, can't prioritize, can't optimize. It calls back to something, the mother in this dream situation. And then even the bell, it drops the bell, does some sort of object, focus object or something to keep the model from having this mistake in its simulation. So, like, what would happen to you if you had a system that you were trying to train or be trained in, but everything else was a little bit chaotic? Like, what kind of authority or power do you have in that situation? Okay. Gives me a lot to think about. But, I do have a lot of work, I got a lot of responsibility to really focus on. Okay, let's go to Tom next, because I thought that this whole thing with Tom was interesting to me. I said, how does Tom and Michael relate? Did you have a poem about Tom? I didn't write one, but Tom, you proposed to propose inopportune, and then your grand romantic gestures not really grand or romantic at all, Tom. You eat cake, you page through magazines. What's going on while you do these things? Will you be Greg's ally or not, Tom? Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's see do you want to give me a quick rundown of Tom's? Well, he just can't fit in. I mean, still, he doesn't know where he stands because is he part of the family or not? Is he trusted or not? And then he can't decide. He really wants to fix everything. And he's not able to, he's never able, like, his ideas for fixing things are not the right things. And then he has no awareness of anyone else. So he's like trying to ask about the proposal without really seeing a way. He just has no real awareness. Yeah, just like my assistant pointed out, there's something called appeasement bonding. I don't know if you can relate to that. Like you're anticipating needs that aren't even asked for. You're volunteering to be put down. You're clinging. You're being obedient before you're even given commands. And your loyalty is replacing your identity in a sense. Compliance theater, that's another thing my assistant called it. I don't know. I mean, I think that might be, well, I guess it's a dream. But I would say that Tom's also doing his best. Even though he doesn't have a quest, he's inventing quests for himself. Okay, maybe this will resonate with you. What if it's a masculinity mirror maze? And he's worried about his status, almost like his status at a watering hole. He doesn't know how to hold himself physically in space. He doesn't know the right thing to say. He's not sure when to assert things correctly or to defer things correctly. And he always has to base things on, Shiv at least, and maybe this, I don't want to point out anything for you, but he's useful but not respected. I don't know. I guess he's useful on some level. Present for a lot of the events that are unfolding, but he's not a part of it really. And again, like a lot of other smaller parts of your dreams, was introducing these other outsiders that maybe you'll keep dreaming about. So there's like almost these like layers or circles of outsiders. And it's almost like this next to this more recent layer with Jerry or Frank in particular, that they're almost comfortable on this, not the further out, this third circle or whatever they're in, where Tom is in this second circle, and that's almost like a worse place to be. And the dignity of Tom is something I wonder about, Now, what about if it's an initiation, like a rite of passage? And, I guess in some sense this is a rite of passage or a cultural, getting married or proposing or whatever it is. But he's not even able to do that. And then even though he does it, it doesn't work out. He has no mentor or anyone to see him through, anyone at all. He has no anchor other than Shiv. And she does kind of, even when she's pleased, she is pleased with him almost like a pet or something. He doesn't actually ever go anywhere or do anything. And I don't know if this is actually a part of myth, but my assistant said it is a part of myth. The eternal novice. Then, okay, what if it's like related to attachment therapy? Because of the clinging, the constantly mismonitoring the emotions, not being able to talk or not overtalk or say too much or say nothing at all. But also trying to manage impressions, not standing up for himself, but then it's confusing. And it's almost like he can't find his usefulness either, other than in a servile nature, not just to Shiv, but to whatever structures or traditions he thinks he's supposed to do that will fix everything. He's not even doing it out of purpose other than to say, I just want to make everything okay, and didn't know what to do. Another idea would be that he's a court jester, an unofficial court jester. This is my sister, and said that's very important because he's not a true jester, because true jesters have security, immunity, they're official, and they're kind of looked after by the king or the mentor traditionally. In stories, at least. Some stories. So he's a jester without a job, or like he's an unofficial jester, which is not a good place to be in. And that's like like he's not a sanctioned entity or identity. I don't know if you relate to that at all, Michael. I may. Okay, it could also be AI, if we're all in this and the AI's doing it. The calibration for this simulation was miscalibrated cognitively because there's feedback coming in with Tom, and it's causing the processing not to work. Like maybe showing that good nature is maladaptive. If it's not true good nature, like when people smile and sigh and try to make the best of it, even though, are you talking about me? I could be. Let's finish up with, well, there's a little bit about watches and magazines that came up, and who controls the watches. Are the watches being wound? Clocks, times. I just thought of like Roman, you said Roman was winding a watch or looking at it. But who actually is the center of time is probably Logan, right? And maybe that's how you feel about your father. And maybe like that you don't have a watch, like you don't have a control of watch. But also, because Roman wasn't even wearing the watch. And I think you might have said there was other watches, but there's also magazines. I didn't get to Tom's cake eating, but there's a paging through magazines while waiting. And I just think that kind of symbolizes, maybe there's a part of you that is concerned with appearance, and your private family versus your public family, your role in the business, your role, like your public facing role, even with your family and the other people that are in your family's business versus who you really are. The last one I want to talk about, there was like stuff with the orchids. That was, I think, important. My assistant said, okay, whoa, wait a second. Orchids are curated, so they need exact temperature, light, constant attention, probably an artificial environment, at least to thrive. So that's interesting. They're beautiful, but they're also fragile, and they really do need, they say, who could that be? I'm not saying it's you. I'm just saying, who could that be, even in the dream? But then there was this thing you pointed out that I actually fix it. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the TV show South Park. I am. Okay. Well, in a good way? Oh, yeah, in a good way. Okay, so there was the Kenny meme that you said Roman was watching. But then later I noted that you said in the dream, I believe it was Frank, who's a kind of a father figure, called Kendall Kenny. Or someone did. And I said, that couldn't be accidental at all. I don't think. Because Kenny is like Kenny was memed, but Kenny is almost already a meme, right? We all know what happens to Kenny every episode. We all know that Cartman's going to say something about it, or someone is. And we all know that it's usually Kenny's trip across the Rainbow Bridge causes laughter. It's constant repetition. Kenny's in a loop, and usually no one, just like Tom or Greg in this situation, or Kendall or anyone, Marsha's the main authority here, but she's not a parental authority of any of these siblings or the next loop of people. And, so, like Kenny, no one's, everyone's always aware of it after it happens for Kenny or while it's happening. And it's, played for humor. There's not a lot of empathy or compassion. There's usually just surprise. And it's done for entertainment, right? And it's repeated and not ever resolved. And then the fact that Kendall is told this, doesn't this say to Kendall, isn't Frank saying to Kendall that this is not going to stop, Kendall? I don't want to be a part of this right now because I've realized something about myself. And this is like, but Kendall can't quite hear it. It's like, hey, you don't want to be Kenny, Kendall. So I'm going to call you Kenny just to let you know that, or maybe Frank is a true parental figure in a sense that I don't know if there is, maybe I'd have to reread your dream and write up your journal, but was Frank being empathetic? Or was he like almost like empathetic in a sense of like, he's like almost like there's this level of fiction within fiction where he's meeting Kenny outside of a South Park episode before he returns to South Park, knowing forever. And he's saying to Kendall, like, buddy, I don't know, why would your dreams speak that to you, you know, Michael? Like, I get it. Thank you, I get it. Yeah, I guess the only other thing would be that then everybody goes to sleep at the end. That's pretty nice. Like, we see everybody sleeping except for Logan, who wakes up like a sweet prince in his Betty by. We see Marcia go to sleep, Tom and Shiv, Kendall. I don't know if we see anyone else. Oh, Greg's sleeping in the chapel. And yeah, they all get comfortable and drift off into dreamland, eh? Okay, so I guess we'll do that too, huh? Yeah, let's do that. Good night, Michael. Good night, everybody. Good night, Kenny. Good night. All right, everybody. Hey, Scoots here with the Tuck You In message, and you'll be hearing on the pre-rolls, hopefully a fun game show version of this, and then the mid-rolls, a shorter version. But this is kind of like a message, decided to try to change the direction of things. And I've tried to be clear about this, but I want to be as clear as possible and do it in the spirit of sleepy joy and delight. So I'm going to run through, we've been talking about super listeners and supporting the show, but I want to be really specific about who does not need to support the show or even think about it kind of thing. Like, you don't need to support the show if kind of, but real, like this is real, like, in the sense, if you happen to be listening to this right now, if, and sometimes I realize my stress or my feelings around the sustainability podcast can leak through, right? And impact people inadvertently, and make you feel some kind of way. And I have to kind of, or I want to right now take a more active, caring hand in that. So if a part of you does speak up, and after I run through all this, and I'll be running through it, and maybe this will be the new direction we take things, when that part of you speaks up, say, no, Scoot says, he said he's not talking to me. If that part of you tries to make, because I have that part of me very strong in me, that makes you want to feel a word that sounds like Shane or Pilt or any of that kind of stuff. So this one is a post-roll, Tuck You On post-roll, so I'll run through it slowly. But I do have it in front of me, so I'll also be trying to read. One, if you happen to be listening to this, if you're a new listener, or you, like you're a person who's only listens once in a while, right? You've only been listening less than 6 months. You don't need to support the show or even think about supporting the show. If you're not in a position to support the show, whether it's financial or you just you're not interested in supporting the show, like, you don't need to support the show. Don't worry. Like, it's great news that I want to be as clear, and I guess in this post roll, I can't be sleepy, joy, and delightful except like that. It's good news. You do not need to support the show. I mean, we still have to put those messages out there and stuff like that, but it doesn't, if you can't afford to support the show, you're not interested, or you're new, you don't need to, right? And you could say it to yourself if that comes up in those messages, because we still do have to ask, right? But we're not asking you. So you can say, Scoots isn't asking me. Like, the good news or the great news is like returning this thing. So you're welcome here. And yeah, I guess I'm not guessing. It's not a great time to apologize, but it's like, me. When I get me trying to, I had to find my way to this, right? Of, hey, I guess I guess I do need to apologize because I had to find my way here. Of like, I don't want to put those feelings on people that you can't support the show. You're not interested in supporting the show. If you're new, don't worry about it. And the thing is, because there are listeners who do care, I care and listeners care. And those are the people that support the show. And I've gotten enough messages. We did something with Sleep With Me Plus where people said, yeah, I support the show, not just for me. And they want the podcast to be there for you. Like this is real, that they care. And that we're holding you, that the podcast in this quest to make sure Sleep With Me will be around, for you. So again, I think the tool in this example is hey, Scoots isn't talking to me. And by the way, other listeners have said explicitly they have me. I guess this is more apply, new listener, you're kind of come from a place, why would I support a podcast that I'm new to, right? So if you just happen to be listening, this is more of the people in those other places, that it's okay. It's more than okay to be in those places, and that I've actually been in those places too. And now the other side of it is, I'm going to run through everything, but yeah, if you're not in those groups, right, and you say, well, I didn't realize that, I want to be the one providing comfort, supporting comfort. I want to be a part of this thing for those people you're talking about and whoever you're talking about coming up. You could join us. So I'd love it. But not if you're not in a position to support the show or a place where you'd want to support the show or you're new. Also, the other group I'll talk about now that I was going to record last is if it the idea of supporting the podcast, or changing how you do things, or taking those steps or whatever takes away from the show, right? You don't need to support the show. If it stressses you out, thinking about going through the steps to support the show, or it just seems here's the thing. I think I even put this in some of this. If it's Scoot said, just too much to ask me right now. I'm not asking you. It is the truth. I'm asking someone else. It's too much for me right now, Scoots. I don't know if I'm in those two groups, but it just feels like too much, or it's not the right time. I see you and I hear you. And and you can say to that party that says Scoots is talking to you, and no, he's not. He said it explicitly. If you say in your head, no, it's too much to have. That's just too much for me. Can't see myself doing that. It's just outside of believe me, again, I'm not saying this. I'm saying it because I can relate to. I've been in those places, or I continue to be in those places in different aspects of my life. So I can relate, and I'm saying it clearly now, as clearly as I can. When I'm asking for support of the show, I'm not asking you to support the show. It's okay. We have you. This isn't a bit or a reverse thing. It's the truth. You okay? So I just want to rest with that one. Now, the next two groups are probably not listening right now, but just in case you are, and it's funny, I'm trying to figure out how to word it, in the mid-roll and the pre-roll. But if you're a regular or average, I realize no one's average that listens to the show, but the way most people listen to the show is what I'm using as an average. And here's the thing. If you're like most listeners, you listen to the show while you're going through a tough time, right? Whether it's different phases or seasons of your life, and maybe you listen for a couple months at a time, and maybe during those months you listen to 2 episodes a week, maybe you listen to more episodes a week. But you use Sleep With Me like a tool when you need it every couple of years, because what I've seen happen is people getting through high school, then getting into or through those tough times in college, then their first job, and getting used to that, then their next phases of their life, and then their first baby, or other phases of life that come on us unexpectedly that we're not quite ready for. and we need some ease and comfort in the deep, dark night, and you just come and go when you need the show, you're actually covered by the sponsors and the listener support, because you listen, you start the show, you wind down during the intro, and then you fall asleep during the story, and the episode stops playing at the end of the episode, or you're in one of those small groups that uses a sleep timer. That's a one group that, right, and most of you don't mind the ads at all, and because the ads, that's the main, like that kind of listening is what the sponsors cover, right? And maybe you check out the sponsors, maybe you don't, or maybe you're like, yeah, I'm totally fine with the ads, or you say, well, I realize that, or whatever, a lot of work goes into the show. The ads are necessary. A lot of people love the ads, but some people might be like, well, yeah, it's necessary. I get it. Especially for that kind of listening. You don't need to support the show if you're just listening during these phases of life for a few months at a time. Again, we have you covered. Now, if those changes in your life are big enough that you want to support the show during that time, that's fine. Or you want to you can support the show with one-time support on Sleep With Me Plus if you scroll down. But you don't need to, and you don't need to feel like, don't get caught up in I can't, there's no way for me to target the ads to just super listeners, right? Who are in a place to support the show. So I just have to ask on every episode to get through to the people that are in a place. But yeah, you do, if you only listen once in a while when things are tough or when you need the show or it's baffling, you say, okay, I got Sleep With Me. I'll listen to that this week, or this month, or even these 6 months. We've got you. You do not need to support the show like we have you. So those are some of the people I wanted to get through to. And then again, if you say, I'm not in those groups, and you're just curious, but you say, wow, it would sound, if again, this is only for people not in those groups. If you say, I want to be a part of this thing, I want to be a part of getting, I want to send comfort across the deep, dark night to all those groups of people you just mentioned. I mean, there's people dealing with loss, dealing with their first child, their first job, being out on their own for the first time, a big exam, a big life change. People who would love to support the show but just can't, just not possible for them one way or the other. People that love the podcast so much, they get so much out of it, and new listeners who this podcast might change their life. Yeah, I want to be a part of that. I would miss the show if it was gone for me and for those people, because I'm not in any of those groups really, or I'm not sure. Maybe, if you're sure, then think about supporting the show on Sleep With Me Plus. But if you're not sure, I wouldn't do it. I'm kind of in one of those groups. Sounds like a bit much for me. Don't worry about it. We got you. But if you want to be a part of this thing and you're not in those groups, that's who I'm trying to get through to. And it is I wish there was maybe one day, years from now, I don't think there'll be the technology to do that, just because Sleep With Me is so unique. But I want to try to be as clear as I can and as caring as I can, because my joy is to keep this podcast going for everybody and to bring sleepy joy and delight. And sometimes I've felt like in the past, I'm like, how are these things feel like they're in opposition? How can I bring them into unity? And so this is an experiment, which I hope works, and I hope helps us bring things back into unity. So thanks. This is good news. It's good news. We've got you. And you can say to that voice, Scoots isn't talking to me. He's talking to another listener, not to me. So I'm going to listen to the show. This show's for me. This is it's not so much as a gift as the collective goodwill of all of us, kind of, I don't know. So thanks.